Alright, with the Kellen Moore news made official, the Eagles can now focus on the next big decision for offensive coordinator. However, the frontrunner for that position has left quite a few people upset, but it's not as bad as you might think. Plus, the latest update suggests Philly could go elsewhere anyway. So let's break down the different options, all the pros and cons, and I'll give you multiple reasons for how the Birds are set up for success no matter where they go. But first, let's run it. What's up, guys? I don't know about you, but I'm still on cloud 9, and honestly, the only thing that's taken a loss this week is my wallet. Which sounds like I'm definitely not alone, since according to Fanatics, the Eagles officially set a record for merchandise sales by a Super Bowl champion in the first 24 hours after a world title. Heck, you guys did it, because that's literally the best-selling numbers from fans across all sports following a championship. And I mean, it's only going to continue to grow because the fellas are everywhere. With Disney World getting a visit from Jalen Hurts. Before then, QB1 made an appearance with Saquon Barkley, and the offensive line joining them on the Jimmy Fallon show.
What is your role in the quote-unquote tush push?
I think I have the easiest job, to be honest. I think I'm the one who pushes the tush.
Congrats on being Super Bowl champions, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, the offensive line of the Philadelphia Eagles, everybody!
I'm not sure how long this celebration is going to keep up, but it's pretty cool to see the guys getting the recognition they deserve. But in order to try and keep this party going as long as we can, I'm going to give away some more Super Bowl merch. Here's all I need you to do. Drop a like on this video, and then go down to the comment section and let me know your favorite option for offensive coordinator and why that is. By the way, I'll be streaming Friday during the parade, and I'll pick the winners then, so good luck to you. Now, speaking of the parade, city officials confirmed that the Eagles championship parade will kick off at 11 a.m., with the route beginning at Broad and Patterson Avenue and then proceeding north towards the Art Museum, where the team says the parade is expected to arrive at the museum somewhere around 12:30 to 1, where Eagles players and coaches will then gather at the Rocky Steps, and then by about 2 o'clock, speeches and ceremonies will start. And for those wondering, they expect it to wrap up sometime a little bit after 3, but you never know these things. Of course, one of the few members who won't be in attendance is Kellen Moore, after the news broke on Tuesday that Kellen had decided to take the Saints job, and by doing so becomes the youngest current head coach in the NFL at 36. Granted, I didn't want him to go, nor do I feel like New Orleans is the best situation to walk into, but still, I will absolutely tell him thank you, we appreciate you, I mean, heck, we got a Super Bowl.
May God guide you in your quest.
In all seriousness, Kellen deserves thanks. Sure, the offense wasn't always perfect, yet unlike a former coordinator who joined the Super Bowl host afterward, Moore remained locked in and focused to help deliver a ring to Philly. And you know what, while I may not like it, we do owe the Saints for at least a little bit of what they've given us over the past couple years, because they played a bigger role in the Birds' victory than you may have realized. For example, over the years, the Eagles got benefits from the Saints such as Darren Sproles, Malcolm Jenkins, who definitely helped us win that first Super Bowl, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, yes, we lost him the first time, but still knew he was crucial enough, so brought him back, Zack Baun, because the Saints just felt like he was a special teamer, as well as a first-rounder that eventually turned into Jalen Carter. Heck, even the picks turned into A.J. Brown in a roundabout way. Oh yeah, plus Cooper DeJean was a byproduct of the extra draft capital acquired. So again, I will say thanks for all of that and for offering up the Superdome as Philly's home away from home for our second Super Bowl.
Sorry about your place.
The next part of this whole equation, though, is who is Philly's new offensive coordinator going to be, or I guess who do you want it to be? I mean, at first glance, it very much sounds like Philly's associate head coach / passing game coordinator Kevin Patullo will be getting the job, with ESPN's Jeremy Fowler saying he's the frontrunner in both the Eagles and Saints OC positions. Now, I don't know how much of a legitimacy that New Orleans job is. It really kind of feels more so like an agent trying to maybe force the hand of Philly, but either way, it does feel like Patullo's job to lose. Because for one, it's very widely known that Nick Sirianni has a strong relationship with Patullo, since the two worked together in Indianapolis before Sirianni brought him over to the Eagles, as the New Jersey native has clearly had a hand in the passing game for all 4 years he's been with the team. Now, I know part of that might be a good thing, but I also totally get the concern of saying, hang on, the right-hand man of Nick Sirianni, who we don't want the play calling, there's legitimate concern and worry and fear of actually reverting back to that type of offense. However, Patullo argued that notion even though he's very close to Sirianni, saying if people were around us, they'd see we're not the same, and actually the reason we work best is because we don't see things the same way.
I'm not buying that crap anymore.
Hang on, I know it does not feel like that can be an objective assessment given their relationship. Although when Jeff Stoutland was asked why Patullo might make a good offensive coordinator, he told the Philly Inquirer that he's a fan of Kevin, and that he's a great organizer with a great football mind while never being short on input for the offense.
Loud noises!
Sorry, look, there's a case to be made that Patullo will not be the failure that Brian Johnson was. Like Anthony DeBona brought up, he spent 15 seasons coaching in the NFL while working as a quarterbacks coach, wide receiver coach, passing game coordinator, and an associate head coach for 6 different teams. Whereas if we're counting, Brian Johnson had only coached for just 2 seasons in the NFL before being named OC. Granted, there's still a lot of unknowns. But shout out to Chase Sr. for getting us a glimpse of what the Eagles' favorite OC candidate does on a regular basis and his offensive philosophy.
Him and I have worked very closely together, and some of that stuff's been, like I said, anything from an offensive role or a head coaching type role, and a lot of it can be whether it's staffing, whether it's decisions, personnel, scheduling, things like that. So it's really a lot of the day-to-day stuff that a head coach does. I've been very privileged to be a part of, which has been very, great for my career, working forward. And then as far as the offensive stuff, since 21 as well, I've kind of been in the forefront with the offensive coordinator, working on everything. From day-to-day stuff to planning to, the play calling stuff on game day and structuring things. So I've had a unique seat, and it's been great for my career. And wherever it goes, it goes. But I'm very fortunate to be the role I'm in and be trusted for what I do. And it's been a lot of fun working with Nick.
Of course, a lot of talk about Kellen Moore getting that Saints job here in New Orleans, and your name has come up as a potential offensive coordinator candidate for 2025. I'm just curious, from a football nerd standpoint, what is your offensive philosophy? What do you value?
So really, it first comes down to what do the players do best. I learned that as a young coach. Chan Gailey was one of my mentors, and everywhere I was with him, we kind of just did what the players did best. And then from there, you just kind of build a system around the players. I mean, there really is no set system, I don't believe. I think it's what your players do best, and you just build it from there.
Last year, I think the Eagles were 32nd in pre-snap motion. That number's gone up a little bit. Why is it important to have pre-snap motion from a matchup standpoint?
Overall, the more you can do with motion, the more you can create leverage on a defense. So whether it's just moving somebody slightly or moving somebody a little bit more, or the speed of motion, it does create leverage on a defense. It creates conversation, and different things can happen. You don't want to do it just to do it. If it doesn't give you a benefit, you don't really want to do it because it can cause you problems as well on the offensive side. But I think it can definitely help in certain situations. You just have to be careful you're not overdoing it.
Not gonna lie, I hear several Sirianni euphemisms in there, but at the same time, I'll say I do hear some things that definitely make him a better candidate than BJ. Now, I'm still not saying I prefer him as the offensive coordinator because personally I'd like to get someone from the outside who's actually called plays before, which for those in that boat is not totally out of the question. With Jeff McClain reporting that the Eagles will be conducting multiple interviews with external candidates and that GM Howie Roseman and owner Jeffrey Lurie will oversee the interview process and not Nick Sirianni. Now hang on, that does not mean that Sirianni will not be involved in the interview process. He's just not probably the ultimate decision maker. Again, remember, this is what we saw last season with the group saying to him basically, hey, Vic Fangio is going to be your DC, Kellen Moore is going to be your offensive coordinator, and make it work.
Everybody love everybody. Right there up on the wall. Got that, Monix? Nope.
Again, we'll see if that's what they do, but there is a little bit of an interesting dilemma this year because now you obviously have a Super Bowl winning head coach and a Super Bowl winning quarterback. So, curious, do they have a little bit more input than they had? I don't know. Either way, when it comes to external candidates, Texans' former offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick will not be considered after he took the Miami Dolphins pass game coordinator role, and was apparently not ever a legit Philly candidate because several analysts suggested his relationship souring with CJ Stroud and attempting to run the version of a Shanahan offense wasn't enticing. Because as we've seen, a copy isn't as good as the original. Look, I'll be honest, I've said this multiple times. I was a fan of Slowick. I think that he could have been doing a good job, but at the same time, too, you also would probably be looking at a very similar scenario to what happened with Kellen Moore. He has 1 good season, 2 good seasons, and he's gone. Which, let me just say, kudos to Jalen Hurts for being unreal in his ability to adapt and overcome adversity. Like as Anthony pointed out, all the dude does is win and gets guys head coaching jobs. I mean, think about it. Since 2016 at Alabama, he's had 9 different offensive coordinators, with 7 of those former OCs now being head coaches in either college or the NFL.
Do you believe it now, Trinity?
Be that as it may, and he, yes, probably would be successful no matter who's there, I still am going to go with stability. Jalen even wants that. He said it multiple times in press conferences, leading to several fans suggesting a potential reunion with Frank Reich as a viable option at offensive coordinator. Although the flip side to that argument is, does a former boss consider that role to work under his mentee?
There were some near brawls at times. There was some screaming and yelling in the hallways back and forth at each other over things like literally like two brothers. I mean, and if anybody else would have been walking through the hallway at the time and I thought these guys are supposed to be best friends, and we're sitting there yelling and screaming at each other in the hallway and don't really care. You know what I mean? And we're about to come to blows. I can remember one specific time, and and then 30 minutes later, we're laughing about it. And those are the memories that just make you laugh and make you appreciate the journey.
Honestly, seeing that clip or hearing about that doesn't really bother me too much because I can appreciate the fact getting the most passion out of people. If you have a brother, you know what it's like, or even a best friend, it just works that way, so I'm okay with it. It's just more so for me seeing what he did in his last stop in Carolina that left a few question marks. Except the more you look into it, it would make some sense. After all, the Panthers had been a joke for quite a while and had nowhere near the talent Philly does for Frank to work with. Plus, if you go back to his time in Indy, 3 of the 4 years, Reich's offenses were the top 10, with the only year it wasn't featuring the starting quarterback duo of Jacoby Brissett and Brian Hoyer. I mean, here's where I'm at. I think at this point in time, we have to come to terms with the reality that nobody that the Eagles get is going to be perfect, but whoever they get, I can guarantee you, whether it's Kevin Patullo, whether it's Frank Reich, whether it's insert whoever you want, they will be better than Brian Johnson. Look, I know that may not be saying much, but even saying that, Brian Johnson's offensive ranks were 9th in total offense, with the 8th best rushing offense, 16th ranked pass offense, while accumulating the 7th most points per game. Again, hear me out. I'm not trying to say BJ was Kellen Moore, but the offense this season finished in the same spot in terms of points per game as they did last year. So hypothetically, trying to think of, or planning on the worst of the worst, let's just say that someone who gets the job ends up being just as good or just as bad, however you want to phrase it, as Brian Johnson. Even if that happens, I'm not concerned because we got Vic Fangio in the number 1 defense in the league, as opposed to the near dead last one under Sean Desai and Matt Patricia. Look, I know we want and need complementary football, but I'm not worried by whatever options Philly goes with for OC. Of course, the issue it presents, especially once Doug Nussmeier follows Kellen Moore to New Orleans if Kevin Patullo gets the OC job, is the openings on the positional spots. Yet when it comes to quarterback coach, Anthony had a good idea for an option with experience and stability.
Like maybe a guy like Mike McCoy, who was the head coach of the Chargers and had Sirianni on his staff. He was most recently the Jaguars quarterback coach for 3 seasons. I think bringing in a guy like that would be great too, where he has all the experience. He was a head coach. He was an OC. He was a quarterback coach. He played quarterback in the NFL. Like bringing in a mind like that would be great too for some added stability and experience.
Credit to Anthony for gutting it out there. I mean, he lost his voice for yelling at the Super Bowl. I know a lot of us were in that same boat, but going to the topic of the veteran leadership and the presence that would bring, you cannot overstate how important that is. I mean, without guys like Clint Hurt coaching the defensive line and Christian Parker over the secondary unit, Bobby King as the linebackers coach, as well as Jamal Singleton with the running backs, Aaron Moorhead with the receivers, and Doug Nussmeier working with Jalen and the others, who knows where this squad would have been. Also, speaking of not knowing, Brandon Graham continues to ponder his retirement decision, admitting that he has a lot to think about, but is going to enjoy the celebrating and reflection before taking time to decide on his future. And like I said, it would be awesome to see BG run it back. Yet I'd expect him to end up going out guaranteed on top as one of the only 4 Philly pro athletes to win multiple championships in 50 years. Of course, as always, I will keep you posted if we hear anything official. For now, do me a favor, hit that like button, make sure you're subscribed, and let me know your thoughts on all of this, the coaching decisions, everything there. Until next time, this has been the Philly Special.